ABC General Hospital spoilers reveal that a dramatic shift is taking shape in General Hospital as the long-anticipated return of Hayley Pullos has finally been confirmed, setting off a surge of excitement, speculation, and narrative possibility across Port Charles. For months, fans have quietly whispered, hoped, and theorized about the possibility that the original Molly Lansing Davis would one day reclaim her place on the canvas. Now, with Hayley herself stepping forward to confirm her return to the ABC soap, those whispers have turned into waves of anticipation. This isn't just another casting update, it's a powerful reclamation of identity, a reshuffling of emotional dynamics, and the beginning of a new story arc poised to shake the foundation of several key relationships. Hayley Pullos first debuted on General Hospital in 2009 as a wide-eyed 11-year-old portraying Alexis Davis and Rick Lansing's intelligent and principled daughter. Over more than a decade, she grew up on screen, crafting a character beloved for her moral backbone and complex evolution from precocious teen to poised young lawyer. Her sudden departure in 2023 following real-life legal issues left fans divided and emotional. And Kristen Vaganos's capable interim portrayal kept the character alive through turbulent storylines involving surrogacy, fertility complications, and family tensions. But Hayley's return signifies more than a mere baton passing, it's a reclamation of the emotional history embedded in Molly's original form. With Hayley back in the role, GH now faces the challenge, and opportunity, of reconciling two very different portrayals of Molly. Kristen brought her own voice and nuances to the role, especially as Molly faced some of her most heartbreaking struggles. Now, with Hayley returning, writers are being handed a unique creative chance to explore not only the character's internal shifts but also the emotional consequences of all that Molly has endured in her absence from the spotlight. Will viewers see a changed Molly, someone hardened by her experiences, more cynical and jaded, or perhaps someone more fragile, trying to piece herself back together after being pushed to the edge? Moreover, Hayley's comeback is perfectly timed to intersect with several brewing conflicts across the canvas. Alexis is once again entangled in high-stakes legal drama. Christina's surrogacy storyline has left the family fractured. TJ is grappling with guilt, confusion, and disappointment. With Molly back, these dynamics could explode into a series of emotionally rich scenes, tense mother-daughter confrontations, awkward sisterly silences, or the painful unraveling of her longtime relationship with TJ. The writers can now build Molly into a central player once again, anchoring her in a powerful emotional arc that mirrors her real-life journey, one of redemption, rebuilding, and rediscovery. There's also the potential for Molly to take on a fresh professional trajectory, now that she has graduated from law school and has been involved in DA-related cases. The opportunity is ripe for GH to position her as a rising legal powerhouse, especially with the Port Charles legal scene undergoing seismic changes involving characters like Diane, Alexis, and even Rick. Could Molly step into the courtroom with more fire and conviction than ever before? Could she take on a case that puts her at odds with her own family? Could she become the moral compass the town desperately needs, or instead be pulled into a legal and personal web that challenges everything she thought she knew? And on a deeper, more symbolic level, the return of Hayley Pullos feels like a full-circle moment, not just for the actress, but for the show itself. Her public acknowledgement of past mistakes, her graceful navigation through personal hardship, and her open embrace of this new chapter all speak to a narrative of healing and second chances. It's a mirror to what soaps do best: reflect the messy, painful, and redemptive cycles of life. Hayley's River Girl Instagram post earlier this month, in which she stood beside tranquil waters with serenity and strength in her stance, was more than just a beautiful portrait, it was a quiet declaration of readiness. She's back. She's grown. And she's ready to take on the world again. As Hayley Pullos resumes the role of Molly, General Hospital finds itself with a rare storytelling gift, a deeply layered character returning with both real-life resonance and fictional potential. Viewers will be watching closely to see how Molly reintegrates into the world she once called home, how she reacts to Christina's evolving relationship with Blaze, how she processes her complicated feelings toward TJ, how she navigates her role as a Davis woman in a town full of corruption, secrets, and shifting allegiances. This isn't just about nostalgia. This is about reinvention. This is about giving a legacy character new life in the hands of the actress who helped shape her from the start. And with the emotional weight of that return, Hayley Pullos isn't just stepping back into a role, she's rewriting it, redefining it, and reintroducing Molly Lansing Davis to a world that may never be the same again. Kristen Vaganos will reportedly be fired in a stunning and unexpected move that has already begun to ripple across the General Hospital fan base and industry insiders alike. The abrupt nature of her rumored exit is sending shockwaves through the community, not just because of its timing, but because of what it suggests about the volatile and deeply reactive casting environment behind the scenes at GH. As speculation swirls and questions arise, one unsettling truth becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. Something significant is unraveling behind the curtain, and the future of Molly as a character is now more uncertain than ever. Kristen's portrayal of Molly was always destined to face intense scrutiny, given the emotional attachment fans had to Hayley Pullos, who originated the role over a decade ago. Stepping into a character so firmly etched in the fabric of Port Charles was never going to be easy, but Kristen approached the challenge with professionalism, vulnerability, and respect for the legacy. Over time, she won a degree of acceptance from some viewers, though for others, her presence always felt like a temporary placeholder, a detour in a larger story. But no one expected her time in the role to end like this, suddenly and without warning. This firing may signal more than just a casting change. It may expose deeper issues in GH's handling of its cast and the future direction of its legacy characters. If the decision was truly made behind closed doors, with little preparation or transition, it speaks to a chaotic environment where decisions are increasingly driven by behind-the-scenes politics, reactive executive strategy, or shocking shakeups meant to manufacture drama not just on screen, but off. And for Molly's character, this abrupt shift could mark either a tragic collapse or a powerful resurrection. Now, with Kristen potentially exiting and Hayley Pullos recently resurfacing on social media, healthier, more self-assured, and hinting at a desire to return to acting, the implications are impossible to ignore. Could GH be preparing for a dramatic return of the original Molly? Is this a soft reset? A controversial bid to reclaim a role that has been in narrative limbo? Or is it a calculated misstep that could alienate fans who had only just begun to accept the recast? The ambiguity itself has become a storm of speculation, and Molly's character sits at the eye of it. This sudden turn also raises urgent questions about the direction of Molly's storylines. Recent rumors suggested she was on the brink of being entangled in a daring love triangle with Cody and Ava, or even a dramatic legal battle involving Christina and surrogacy. If those arcs were being built around Kristen's interpretation of the character, a mid-storyline recast could damage the emotional stakes. It could fracture continuity and derail long-term story investments. Alternatively, the shock of recasting could be used to drive narrative momentum, a bold choice, but one that requires deft handling and careful pacing. Regardless, what's becoming clearer is that Molly is no longer a background character. Her placement at the center of emotionally complex, legally murky, and ethically fraught storyline suggests GH is recommitting to the character in a more central, dynamic way. Whether Kristen's potential departure is a misstep or a strategic decision, it highlights just how precarious life in Port Charles can be, even for the actors who bring it to life. And for the viewers, it is yet another reminder that in soap operas, nothing is truly safe. Not marriages, not secrets, and certainly not casting. As the days unfold, all eyes will be on the producers of General Hospital to see how they handle this behind-the-scenes twist. Will they confirm Kristen's departure publicly? Will Hayley Pullos truly return to reclaim her role? Or will a completely new actress emerge from the wings, tasked with carrying Molly into yet another unpredictable chapter? No matter what, one thing is certain, the future of Molly is teetering on a knife's edge. And the shock of Kristen's alleged firing has ensured that every viewer is now watching very, very closely. Molly never imagined that her return to the center of Port Charles' life would be anything more than a cautious reclaiming of stability. After months of emotional isolation and professional detachment, she had tried to rebuild her sense of self. leaning into her legal work and staying far from the chaos that seemed to define everyone else's lives. But the moment she crossed paths with Cody and Ava, something shifted. It wasn't instant. But the slow burn of intrigue, secrecy, and magnetic tension drew her into a storm she couldn't stop, nor entirely wanted to. Cody, with his roguish charm and unpredictable heart, represented everything she'd learned to avoid. Yet it was that unpredictability that now gave her breath when her life had become stale and suffocating. He offered an escape, not a healthy one. Not a safe one, but a door into a world where consequences felt distant and adrenaline replaced grief. At first, she convinced herself it was just curiosity. Cody's flirtation was harmless. His connection to Ava merely coincidental, and her involvement little more than legal advice given in passing. But soon, the lines began to blur. Ava, ever calculating and seductively manipulative, saw in Molly a young woman teetering on the edge, brilliant but fractured, capable but emotionally vulnerable. Ava played her like a piano, offering her pieces of truth wrapped in lies. Fragments of friendship cloaked in ulterior motives. And the worst part was that Molly knew. Somewhere deep down, she knew she was being used. But her need to feel relevant, alive, and valued clouded her judgment. She was tired of being the girl who always made the right choices, the woman burdened by duty. In Cody and Ava, she found chaos, dangerous, intoxicating chaos, that made her forget, if only briefly, the cold emptiness left by the life she lost. But the cost of that escape was mounting. Her professional instincts were screaming warnings she didn't want to hear. Ava was tangled in something dark, smuggling, blackmail, or worse, and Cody was either an unwilling pawn or a willing partner. Molly found herself in rooms she didn't belong in, hearing names and details she couldn't legally ignore. And the more she tried to step back, the more the gravitational pull dragged her in. Ava started trusting her, or at least pretending to. Cody began confiding in her, revealing secrets that could dismantle entire lives if they slipped. Soon, Molly wasn't just observing the storm, she was part of it. The woman who once stood for integrity and control now found herself contemplating perjury, covering evidence, and worst of all, silencing her conscience. Her family noticed. Alexis became wary, noticing Molly's late nights, distracted behavior, and uncharacteristic mood swings. Christina, who had long believed her sister was incapable of making messy decisions, saw the cracks forming and tried to warn her. But Molly pushed them away. She insisted she was fine. That they were overreacting, that she was still in control. But deep down, she felt the unraveling. She began to lose sleep, haunted by the feeling that she was being followed, watched. Or worse, set up. A new paranoia grew in her, fed by Ava's cryptic warnings and Cody's increasingly erratic behavior. She began to wonder if she had already crossed a line she couldn't come back from. Then came the turning point. Molly overheard a conversation she wasn't meant to hear, Cody and Ava whispering about a transaction, a name she recognized, a threat that chilled her to the bone. It wasn't just illegal. It was dangerous. Lethal. And now she knew too much. In the days that followed, Molly tried to extricate herself, to pull away under the guise of work. To pretend she hadn't heard. But Ava wasn't fooled. She offered Molly a choice, loyalty or exposure. Cody, too, grew colder, more guarded. Suddenly, the very people who made her feel alive now made her feel trapped. Molly faced the ultimate identity crisis. Could she go back? Could she confide in her family? Confess what she had done and what she knew? Would they forgive her for the lies, the choices, the damage already done? Or had she gone too far? There was no easy answer. And as she stood in the mirror, staring into eyes she no longer recognized, she realized the woman looking back at her was no longer the idealistic Molly of yesterday. She had tasted chaos. She had flirted with moral decay. And now, whether she liked it or not, she was part of something she didn't fully understand. Her future hung in the balance. One wrong move, one betrayal. One leak, and everything would fall apart. The DA's office would investigate. Her career could be destroyed. Her family could abandon her. But most frightening of all, the people she had once trusted, Cody and Ava, could turn on her with lethal precision. She was not safe. Not at home. Not at work. Not even within her own skin. And as the storm continued to swirl, Molly knew one thing with painful certainty: this was no longer about right or wrong. It was about survival. And if she didn't choose to expose the truth or bury it deeper, she might lose everything, including herself. In Port Charles, secrets never stay buried. And the deeper Molly digs, the closer she gets to learning that the true cost of obsession isn't just the loss of reputation, it's the total destruction of identity. If Haley Pullos is indeed poised to return to General Hospital in a brand new role, her comeback could signal not just a routine casting update, but the beginning of one of the most ambitious and emotionally layered transitions the soap has seen in years. More than a simple return. This development may embody the very spirit of rebirth that GH thrives on, where personal mistakes are transformed into narrative strength. And where beloved actors are given the platform to evolve alongside the characters they portray. For over a decade, Haley was synonymous with Molly: headstrong, intelligent, emotionally grounded. But in the aftermath of real-life turbulence and time away from the show, the decision to recast Molly and separate the character from Haley seemed like the definitive end of that chapter. Now, the rumor that she could be returning in an entirely new role doesn't just offer redemption, it presents an opportunity for General Hospital to rewrite its own rules on reinvention. Imagine this. Haley doesn't just quietly step back into Port Charles as a background player, she arrives in a way that shakes the very foundations of the canvas. Perhaps she reemerges as a woman with a false identity, a forged past, and a dangerous secret that connects her to Jason, Britt, or even Victor. Maybe she's the biological daughter of a long-dead villain, adopted and raised by strangers, now returning to the city of her origin with questions that unravel decades of family lies. Or perhaps she's a lab experiment gone wrong, a byproduct of Professor Dalton's disturbing genetic trials, emerging from the shadows to expose those who manipulated her creation. Whether Haley is cast as a tragic antihero, a redemptive figure, or a woman on the run, the storytelling potential is enormous. The casting department at GH has a long legacy of using familiar faces to unlock fresh plotlines. Think of how Tamara Braun returned not as Carly, but as Kim. Or how Roger Howarth became Franco. Then Austin. In each of these cases, the new characters were layered, flawed, and tightly interwoven into legacy families and corporate intrigues. The audience, though initially resistant, was eventually won over by the storytelling and the strength of performance. Haley could follow that exact blueprint, but with even greater emotional stakes. After all, she didn't leave the show as an unknown or underused actress. She was a household name, someone who literally grew up on screen and whose face was synonymous with one of GH's most moral, articulate characters. To bring her back in a darker, more complex role would not only stretch her acting muscles, it would mirror her own real-life evolution. What makes this move all the more powerful is its timing. The show is clearly preparing for a generational pivot. The younger cast, Trina, Spencer, now off canvas, Jocelyn, Dex, and even Daisy, are being set up as the new emotional center of Port Charles. But there's a middle generation gap waiting to be filled. Jason's return has brought renewed focus on the Quartermaines. The Corinthos clan is fractured, and long-standing characters like Alexis, Sam, and Nina are in flux. A new role for Haley could act as a bridge between these storylines, pulling together threads that otherwise would remain isolated. She could be involved in corporate espionage at ELQ, inserted into the legal community alongside Alexis, or used as a key to unlock Britt's fate in the Dalton storyline. What if Haley's new character has a hidden link to Britt's past? Or if she's the sister, or even daughter, of a powerful new villain? This fresh start would also give the writers an excuse to explore deeper themes. Themes of identity, redemption, nature versus nurture. A character who's struggling to reclaim herself after years of lies or captivity would resonate deeply in a soap that often thrives on psychological torment and personal transformation. Haley, having lived through some of that emotional turbulence herself, could bring a depth and authenticity to her performance that few others could match. And let's not ignore the fan reaction. Even during her absence, Haley Pullos has maintained a loyal fan base. Her recent posts on Instagram, showing personal growth and artistic renewal, have sparked a wave of support. Many viewers have expressed a desire to see her back on their screens, not necessarily as Molly, but as someone. Giving fans what they want, while subverting expectations, is one of the smartest moves General Hospital could make. It keeps the show unpredictable but emotionally satisfying. There's also the matter of the current Molly, portrayed now by Kristen Vaganos. Though Kristen has brought her own flavor to the role, there's no denying that many fans still associate Haley with the original interpretation. Rather than pit the two versions of Molly against each other, the show could sidestep that entirely by allowing both actresses to coexist in new directions. Kristen can continue shaping Molly's current arc, while Haley is free to inhabit a completely distinct space, possibly even on the opposite side of the law. Picture this: Molly, the assistant district attorney, unknowingly going head-to-head in court with Haley's new character, who may be hiding layers of corruption, deceit, or tragic motivations. At the end of the day, what makes this possible return so powerful is that it speaks to one of GH's most enduring strengths, its ability to reflect the messiness of real life while offering catharsis, fantasy, and emotional closure. If Haley returns in a new role, it will be more than a casting twist, it will be a message to the audience that no story is ever truly over. That every person deserves a second act, and that the bonds forged between actors, characters, and viewers are stronger than any scandal, departure, or casting shakeup. Whether this new chapter for Haley Pullos involves her becoming a love interest for an existing character, the secret child of a legacy villain, or a tormented survivor of Dalton's unethical experiments, one thing is certain: Port Charles is about to feel her impact again. And in a town where every comeback is laced with danger, emotion, and revelation, this one might just be the most powerful of them all. Molly is undeniably undergoing one of the most significant transformations of her entire character arc. And this evolution is not just a surface-level adjustment, it's a powerful reflection of deeper narrative shifts currently reshaping Port Charles. What once seemed like a familiar, predictable path for Molly is now being rewritten through emotional turbulence, unexpected relationships, and personal redefinition. This change isn't merely about how Molly reacts to the chaos around her, it's about how she actively steps into the storm, making decisions that reshape how she is perceived by those closest to her and by the audience itself. The role of Molly is no longer confined to the well-read, principled young woman standing in the shadow of powerhouse figures like Alexis or Christina. Instead, she is stepping into a more complicated, messier version of adulthood, where loyalty, love, and morality are constantly in conflict. Whether it's her unexpected proximity to Cody and Ava's chaotic entanglement or her gradual involvement in legal and ethical dilemmas surrounding characters like Drew, Sunny, and Sidwell, Molly is being repositioned not as a bystander but as a central force within the storm. This shift also redefines what it means to be a Molly in this new era of General Hospital. No longer the passive idealist, she now navigates through moral gray areas, confronts betrayal, and even becomes a vessel for long-buried secrets or family confrontations. The current version of Molly, shaped equally by new storylines and casting dynamics, serves as both a break from tradition and a torchbearer for the show's future. It is a version of Molly that isn't just reacting to drama but creating it, controlling it, and being changed by it in ways that feel thrillingly unpredictable. This is no longer just a recast. This is a reinvention.